Well, the two campaigns are clashing over whether or not the microphones will be muted. Trump also accusing the network, ABC, of political bias after this interview between Republican Senator Tom Cotton and ABC reporter Jonathan Karl.
What do you mean taking away health insurance? What are you talking about?
She said when she ran for president that she wants to eliminate private health insurance on the job for 170 million Americans, John.
Yeah, I mean that is not her position now. She knows.
How do you know that's not her position? How do you know that's not her position?
I mean, she says she no longer supports Medicare for all.
She has not said that. Okay. Maybe anonymous aides on a Friday night have said that. She's been part of the failures of the Biden-Harris administration for 4 years. And when she campaigned for president in her own right, she did, in fact, promise things like decriminalizing illegal immigration and taking away health insurance.
But that's his position she's clearly changed on, and she has said she has changed. Yes, she has.
No, she has not. John, she has not said that.
Is Jonathan Karl a Kamala Harris campaign surrogate? I mean, if you would have watched that, you would have thought that was a debate between a Republican and a Democrat. But no, it was a host of a major Sunday show interviewing a Republican vouching for Kamala Harris. And Trump was asked about the dispute you just watched earlier today.
But when I watched this interview of Tom Cotton, fortunately, he's a total pro. He knows what he's doing. And then when I watched the roundtable after that, I said the hostility is crazy. So we're thinking about it. We're thinking about it. They also want to change the rules. You know, the deal was we keep the same rules. Now all of a sudden they want to make a change in the rules because she can't answer questions. Why doesn't she do a couple of question answer? Why doesn't she do something like I'm doing right now? She can't talk. We can't have another dummy as a president, okay? We cannot have a dummy. And the people from Vietnam agree with that.
President Trump, would you want the microphones muted in the debate whenever you're not speaking?
We agreed to the same rules. I don't know. It doesn't matter to me. I'd rather have it probably on. But the agreement was that it would be the same as it was last time. In that case, it was muted. I didn't like it the last time, but it worked out fine. I mean, ask Biden how it worked out. It was fine. And I think it should be the same. We agreed to the same rules. Same rules and same specifications. And I think that's probably what it should be. But they're trying to change it. The truth is they're trying to get out of it because she doesn't want to debate. She's not a good debater. She's not a smart person. She doesn't want to debate.
So there's been a lot of rapid back and forth. It began this morning, Kevin, in Politico Playbook. So Brian Fallon from the Harris campaign said, "We have told ABC and other networks seeking to host a possible October debate, we believe both candidates' mics should be live." Jason Miller said, he's from the Trump campaign, "We accepted the ABC debate under the exact same terms as the CNN debate." So Trump made that comment. He thinks the rules should stay the same, but nevertheless said he's open to the mic. You know, he could go either way, but he wants the same rules out of fairness. Brian Fallon has now said from the Kamala Harris campaign, Trump said unmuting the mics doesn't matter to me. Always suspected it was something his staff wanted, not him personally. With this resolved, everything is now set for September 10th. But is it? That's not what I heard.
I think we're at a very interesting crossroads because you can't imagine a president of the United States. Let's be bipartisan for a moment. Let's agree on one thing. There is no scenario where the president of the United States can't head up a press conference. Under any scenario, every president has been able to address the press, and in the good times and the bad times. She has to start talking to the press, period. There's no optionality. There's no scenario where anybody would be comfortable, particularly in the swing states where swing voters are thinking to myself, what do we got here? Why won't she talk to the press? I'm asking it from a policy guy. I need explanations for these policies because I have to invest on these policies. I have questions, and I don't get any answers. I'm not being unreasonable. Come out wherever you are and talk to the press.
Yeah, I mean, that's well said. Emily, you know, if I'm President Trump and I'm watching this, I'm looking at someone trying to script their way to the presidency, to your point, and then I turn on ABC, who I'm expecting to be fair to me, and I see Jon Karl acting as a surrogate. He is a surrogate for the Kamala Harris campaign, the way he was so hostile to Tom Cotton, and I'm supposed to walk in and think you're going to be fair to me? I mean, really? What am I missing?
Well, remember when Don Lemon interviewed a bunch of people in New Jersey and Cleveland, and when Americans said, this is how I feel, he goes, that's not what the statistics show. The whole point is that the media has absolutely operated as a surrogacy for Kamala Harris this entire time, or for the Biden-Harris administration, and now that apparently goes to policies. So they're telling you, here's what the policy is, okay, and also here's how to feel based on numbers that I've made up rather than how you actually feel. The point that I see, too, is actually what Donald Trump said, which is, look, I'll debate you anytime, anywhere. I want my former or future commander-in-chief to have the confidence of someone that is ready to take on every other global leader. So I would hope that the current vice president will come out and say, yeah, what questions do you have for me? By the way, I saw on the night that the Evan Gorkovsky and everyone was released from Russia, she did take questions from the press. I watched it live because I was sobbing because we were bringing our Americans home. She took it live. So it's not that she's immune or impossible to do it, but something's clearly happening where she knows that when her feet's to the fire, it actually wouldn't work out. And quick final point to the thing that Donald Trump was saying, where it's like, obviously, she doesn't debate me. When Floyd Mayweather wanted to fight John Gotti in the exhibition this weekend, which we watched, he didn't say, but it has to be XYZ. He said, hey, I want to fight you anytime, anywhere. You guys make the rules. I'll meet you there. Mexico City, great, I'll be there at 7. Why can't we have that confidence with a potential commander-in-chief saying, yep, let me know where to debate you, because I need to earn 335 million Americans' votes?
Tammy, and Donald Trump had a litany of questions for ABC he laid out on Truth Social, one of which was Donna Brazile, who, was accused of providing a question to the Hillary campaign while at CNN, no longer there, currently on ABC. But these are the kinds of things he is thinking through.
Indeed. And this is not new, right? We've seen this before with media. No one should be surprised. With debates, we've seen moderators act as surrogates for the Democrat candidate, or going after a Mitt Romney or a George Bush. And I think that this is what Americans now are privy to. They understand that this isn't the role of the media. You're not to be an advocate for one side. And, if the networks, legacy media, really wanted Kamala Harris there, or even a surrogate, is to say, we're having Tom Cotton on, we're not going to be your surrogate. You have to have someone here. But if you want Tom Cotton on TV without any pushback, okay, but that's our situation. They would have to move on that. They'd have to put a surrogate there. But at least they could make that statement. As we say, it's like, yes, we've invited Kamala Harris and we've not heard back, or she refused. That's all you need to do. And at least you're doing your job in the meantime. But Trump also wants to make sure that he has some fairness in this environment. He knows it'll never really be fair, but he wants the American people to know.
Yes, and I think outside observers, we'll see how they see it, but people saw 2 debates set, 2 candidates, Biden, Trump. You replace the candidate. Now it's Kamala, Trump. Trump says, OK, but now you want to change the rules on top of all of that.
Yeah, this late in the game. Remember, we're talking about 2 weeks from tomorrow that this debate is set to happen. But look, I'm going to tell you, I'm not sure that they really care at this point. That campaign has done so many flip-flops since she was announced. And I think that what they're doing is making, in their mind, smart political calculations that because now that she is the candidate, the rules don't apply to her and the rules are out the door. And I think they're showing that now, in particular with now this argument this morning about the debate rules. They want his mic to be open. It's obvious because they want that fight, because she wants to fight. She's ready to fight. He's ready to fight. I say whatever the rules are, fine, but get the policy out there. Enough with all the semantics and the kumbayas with the Democrats. Time to hear about regulation, tax policy, health care, foreign policy. Enough is enough. We need actual specifics, and she's going to have to do that without the prompter.
Well, that's a task. And, went to bed thinking there was a September 10th debate, woke up thinking maybe not so fast. So we will see.
Hey, everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kayleigh McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.